Good afternoon. This is a hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on September 4th, 2024 in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. My name is Karen Latin and I serve as the chair. Today's hearing is being broadcast live on Xfinity Channel 18 and is being recorded on the on-demand archives available on the town's website. It's being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies of documents for review are posted on the town's website. To all participants, whether attending by phone or online, please remain muted unless you have been recognized by the chair. When recognized, please identify yourself for the record. If you're attending by phone, you can mute and unmute by using *6. If you're online and you're not a commissioner, please keep your camera turned off unless you have been recognized. Indicate that you wish to speak by using the raise hand feature. So that we have a record of quorum, I will now ask each commissioner to indicate their presence. Vice Chair Elise Gordon.
Present.
Yay. Janet Williams.
Present.
Cheryl Meservey is not here today. Eric Hilbert.
Present.
Paul Johnson is not here today. Associate Member Bob Delvecchio.
Present.
And I'm here. We've established a quorum. Before I go on, I'd like to first welcome, we have a new assistant agent, Catherine Ricks, and I'd like to welcome her. She's a wonderful addition and we're so happy to have her. Before we begin the agenda, are there any announcements about any continuances for today, Paul?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Yes, we have 3 continuances. A determination of applicability at 65 Squanto Drive will be continued to September 11th, and 2 of the certificates of compliance at 104 Cranberry Lane will be continued to September 11th.
Thank you. All right, at this point, Paul Whiteman, Chatham's conservation agent, will now lead us through the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First on the agenda is a requested order of conditions. The address is 44 Nickerson Lane, Michael Frizzoli, map 7B, parcel 41-S17, DEP number SE103691. The project is proposed shoreline stabilization and restoration plantings.
Great, thank you.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
Jen Crawford Land Management is here on behalf of the applicant today.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. I reviewed the draft order of conditions and I only had 2 things that I wanted to ask you guys about.
Sure.
One of them is on page 11D, number 9, and I think that Jim Sears, the owner of 34 Nickerson, also had written asking about this. But that particular condition says that the project extends on a property located at 39 Nickerson.
We did update that.
Okay, great. Yeah, because 44 Nickerson was the applicant, 34 Nickerson was a co-applicant, and that's where the access is coming from. So, okay, great. The only other question or thing that I wanted to discuss with you was on page 11F, condition number 9 talks about an annual survey of the coastal beach area shall be conducted by a Mass registered engineer and photo documentation shall be submitted. I wanted to know for something, an installation that's really this small, if it would be sufficient for us to use a surveyed benchmark on the property, like for instance, the top of the revetment is at approximately elevation 5. Instead of having to incur the cost, the owner having to incur the cost every year to have an engineer or licensed surveyor come out, I was hoping that maybe we could work with you since we have to submit annual monitoring reports for the vegetation portion anyway, work with you on a less formal way to note any sort of changing beach elevations, simply by using, like, we have what we call a zip level, and you can basically zero it out at any known elevation, and then it is very, very accurate. And it can then kind of map changes in elevation. And so we would be able to get you data very quickly without having to incur the additional costs every year for an engineer or surveyor to come back out. And I didn't know if that would be something that the commission would be amenable to or not.
What was it that you said would be used to note the beach elevations?
So we have what we call a zip level. It's a field device that you can basically choose any area, like a known point, like if a top of a deck is surveyed and you know the elevation of it, you zero the device out at a known elevation, and then it has like a long hose on it, basically, and then an end that has like a station point or a stick on it, and you can take the elevation relative to your known elevation, so you can determine whether things year after year have increased, decreased, or changed. It's more of a field way to survey something without an actual crazy survey equipment that a licensed surveyor would use.
So at this point, we've modified it. It says an annual survey of the coastal/beach elevation, noting beach elevation changes using a zip level. And
Yep.
then we added annual surveys, let's see, then it continues, photo documentation shall be submitted to illustrate the site conditions. At the time of the survey, annual surveys will be submitted along with annual monitoring reports. Is that okay?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
that will totally work, and it will literally save save these guys thousands of dollars a year in having, you'll get the same information, but in having a licensed surveyor have to come out and to do that work. So that will be awesome. Thank you so much for
Okay.
accommodating that.
Paul or Catherine, Paul, I think you have your hand up, actually.
Yes,
Good.
I just wanted, we do have Catherine Ricks, as I'm very pleased to have her as our assistant. Catherine specialized in coastal resource, and I think she could just chime in and indicate that is an accurate way to proceed. So that if we could just recognize her and she can chime in.
Catherine, you're recognized.
Hi, this is Catherine Ricks. Yes, I do agree that that would be a sufficient way, instead of having to have a surveyor out there. That would be giving us the same information.
Wonderful, thank
It
you.
wouldn't replace an as-built for certificate of compliance. It would just fill that annual monitoring requirement, would be the intent
Right.
on our end.
Yeah.
Right, that's what this condition refers to as the annual report.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for accommodating that. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you, and thank you, Catherine. All right, then we are ready for an order.
Okay, I make a motion to close the hearing and approve the order of conditions for 44 Nickerson Lane.
Second.
All right, roll call. Janet?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Elise? Aye. And I say aye, so that's approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Paul, on to the next.
On to the next, requested order of conditions. The address is 109 Shane Drive Road. Shane Drive. Andrew Pinkowitz is the applicant, map 15G, parcel 74-B28A, DEP number SE103692. Project 2 proposed porch additions, second floor addition, and mitigation.
All right. Do any commissioners have anything to add to this order at this time? Okay, Thad, I assume you're here too.
Hi, Thad Eldridge, Southeast, representing the Pinkowitzes. We're fine with it.
Oh, well, that's good. And you read it thoroughly.
Read it through.
Good. Yeah, we're making sure of that at this point. And no commissioners have anything to add? Okay, then we are ready for a more motion.
All right, I move that we close the hearing and approve the order of conditions for 109 Shane Drive.
Second.
All right, Janet,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
and I say aye, so that's approved. Okay, Paul, we're on to the next.
Next on the agenda is another order of conditions for 159 Sea Pine Road. Michael and Elizabeth Baldwin are the applicants, map 11K, parcel HC13, DEP number SE103696, demolition of an existing dwelling and construction of a new dwelling within land subject to coastal storm flowage.
All right. Do any commissioners have anything to add or change in this one? Okay, is there anybody here representing? Yeah.
David Clark here, can you hear me?
Oh, okay, sorry, Dave, yes, I can. Sorry, I didn't see that you were on.
The only question I had were conditions E11 and E12. Your typical conditions referring to a revetment. This property already has a revetment, and the existing house is a pre-78 house.
They're not applicable.
Yep, okay, we will remove those.
Other than that, I actually read the whole thing.
Very good, because that was going to be my next question. We've had people say they've read it and didn't, so. Anybody else have any other questions? No? I think we're ready for a motion.
All right, I move that we close the hearing and approve the order of conditions for 159 Sea Pine Road.
Second.
Okay, Janet,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
and I say aye. So that's approved. Excellent. Okay, Paul, we're moving right along.
We are. Next on the agenda is an order of conditions. 9 Pine Grove Road is the address. Neil and Cheryl Sullivan are the applicants. Map 8B, parcel 8-H67, DEP number SE103695. The project is proposed work which consists of a deck expansion and landscaping work which will occur in the buffer zone to a coastal bank.
All right, does anybody on the commission have any questions, comments, additions, changes to this order? All right.
Good
So-
afternoon, David
Yes.
Little. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, and you're outside, which isn't fair.
I'm saddling up my horse to ride off into retirement.
Oh.
So I have read the order of conditions, and we have no questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, then I think we're ready for a motion.
All right, I move that we close the hearing and approve the order of conditions for 9 Pine Grove Road.
Second.
All right, Janet,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
and I say aye. That's passed as well. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to the next.
Giddy up. Okay, next on the agenda is an order of conditions for 24 Avalon Point Road. Paul M. Sheridan and is the trustee of the Avalon Point Residence Trust, map 12L, parcel L4, DEP number SE103689. The project is proposed reconstruction of the existing beach access stairs.
Okay, do any commissioners have anything? Bob, do you?
I mentioned something to, I can't remember his name.
Yeah. At the
John.
last meeting, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, Sean Riley.
Sean, I'm
here.
sorry, Sean. Lost my train of thought. But anyway, there was a pine next to the stairway, and that was a little bit of a problem there if you were going to widen the stairway. Did you resolve that issue?
Yes, so went out to the site. We should be able to accommodate shifting a couple of inches to the other side to adjust that to avoid that pine. We've also reduced the width of the stair based on our last discussion of the new policy to not have more than a 3-foot width. So I don't see that that's an issue. You'd also had a question about adding some vegetation along the outsides and the bare areas, which are not an issue. And then you also had another question about the desire to have a kayak rack, where they were storing the kayaks and paddleboards on the beach. I spoke with the applicant. He would like to have a kayak rack, so we could either add that to the plan or as a condition that a kayak rack is approved, whichever way you'd like to proceed with that one. I read through the order and didn't see anything or have any questions on the order.
Okay, well, I think the order, because it was one of my questions, was the width of the staircase, because we had, you had said 38, we had said 36. So you're saying it now will have 36?
Yes, 36 on the inside, correct. It had we originally showed it as 38, and we acknowledged the 36, so it will now be 36 on the inside.
All right, we don't have any new plans, right?
No, you don't. We had to go to
Okay.
the zoning board, and I wanted to report back to you on the kayak rack. We can get a plan over to you as soon as tomorrow showing the kayak rack location and the adjustment to that stair,
Okay.
if that would work.
Yeah, and also it probably needs to show the shifting of the stairway to save that pine.
Yes.
And then you said you're going to do some plantings to stabilize?
Basically just seeding, some overseeding along the bank with shade-tolerant grasses, just to pick up some of those areas that don't have any understory.
Is that satisfactory, Bob?
Yeah, would you be using some erosion control fabric or something there?
Yeah, some erosion control blankets along those edges, correct.
I'm not sure. Where will this grasses be? Underneath the,
There's some bare areas
Okay.
along the slope.
In the bare areas.
Wilkinson did a large restoration project at the toe
right,
a while back that grew in nicely. So there are just some additional barriers areas that have occurred along the stair that we'd addressed just as part of this.
okay. I just wanted to make sure we get it into the order properly. So we've added that there will be a kayak rack. You'll get us.
Where?
Well, you're going to have to,
Is it-
you're going to provide a new plan, correct?
Yeah, we can provide that plan tomorrow.
But-
It's 2 minor changes.
Yeah, no, is
So
it,
that
is
we can say where the kayak rack will be located. Where will it be located? Because we're hoping to approve this order today.
Yep. So if you remember correctly, on the plans, there is a stair. The stair runs down to a pier.
Right,
So the level area right at the pier is where the kayak rack will be located, adjacent to the stair that comes down to the beach.
okay.
So it'll be right at the bottom of the staircase.
The new staircase and right where it's meeting with the existing pier.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct. And then there's steps down to the beach that allow egress up and over the stair for anybody using the beach.
okay,
So right at that location.
great. All right, we wanted to make sure we get it into the order properly since we don't have that plan yet. But you will
Understood.
get it to us tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. Then, any other comments, concerns from commissioners?
Yes, and the planting areas will be on that plan as well, Sean?
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll identify the areas where there'll be additional grasses and the matting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Then I think we can approve this order, so I'm ready for a motion.
Okay, I move that we close the hearing and approve the order of conditions for 24 Avalon Point Road.
Second.
Janet?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
And I say aye, so it's been approved. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Okay, Paul, we're ready for the next.
For the next, the last item for orders of conditions on the agenda for today is the address is 97 Tilapy Run, staging and access on 97 Tilapy Run. The owner TR 97 Nominee Trust, map 14A3, parcels 2-B and N131, DEP number SE 103690. The agenda says emergency repair of an existing coastal engineering structure. It is repair now of an existing coastal engineering structure under a notice of intent. That's the project.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, commissioners, do you have anything, concerns, comments, anything to add to the order as it is now?
I got a couple of things, Karen.
Okay,
Finding number 19.
okay,
If you look at the date, January 24th, 2024, there should be a space in there.
space between what, the
Between
comma?
Between the comma and 2024.
Okay, we've just added that recently, so that's set.
Okay.
Thank you.
And special condition number 9.
Yes.
I just added another sentence just to.
Well, we actually changed that maybe an hour ago.
Oh, you did?
So why don't I read it as it stands now and then
Okay.
see
Yeah.
if this fits in with what you're thinking. The steel road plates placed over the Morris Island Road title gate will be sold to the town after the completion of the work for $1. The value of the road plates is approximately $20,000. The sale of the plates is contingent upon the execution of a purchase and sale agreement between the applicant and the town, and the parties agreeing on appropriate liability release from the town to the applicant following the sale, and will be subject to further review and approval by town council and the select board. In the event that the applicant and the town are unable to agree on terms for the sale of the plates by September 30th, 2024, then the applicant shall donate the additional amount of $15,000 to the Town of Chatham Special Purpose Fund as a substitute form of mitigation in lieu of the sale of the steel plates. This just came starting very late yesterday afternoon. The plates were offered to the town for $1. We still need to have the bill of sale approved by the select board and by town council. And so we, at this time, don't have that approval because we couldn't get that this morning, since select board didn't meet this morning and town council hasn't had time to get back to us. So that's the background to what now has been written. What
Okay,
were you
what
thinking?
Yeah, what I had was different.
Okay,
From, it had a different aim to it. But I just wanted to start that special condition off with, steel plates will be placed over the road to protect the Morris Island Road title gate from heavy transported loads moving to and from the site. Because it really didn't specify what the,
right, why we have them.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I sort of was going by that they're in place, but I think that's probably good to also state it here to be sure that we're more than covered. So thank you for that.
Sure. Other than that, everything's all fine with me.
Great, thank you. And Dan, I think I see you on the platform, so
Yes.
your thoughts.
I'm okay with all of it except for the additional donation. I'm pretty confident we can come to terms on getting these to the town. The intent is to get them there.
Right, and we
With a
appreciate
pretty
that.
simple release of liability. I don't think like that. Anything beyond that was not like part of any previous agreement. So like, I can't speak for my applicant that he's going to be okay with that. Like, we provided the plates, we provided the bill of sale, the $1 bill of sale with the release of liability. That seems pretty cut and dry to me.
Right. I think our concern has been, and believe me, we haven't even had 24 hours to digest all that's going on since a lot of it happened this morning or after hours yesterday. Our concern is, obviously, the dollar, I don't think the town will have a problem with, or has a problem with. It's the liability and the release of liability, and I can't speak for select board or council on that. That's sort of where we're coming from, and felt that in order to hopefully end this today, we were trying to find a way that also sort of protects the town, obviously. So, any thoughts, Janet?
I can chime in here. I think, Dan, you're right, that it's pretty cut and dry, and from our perspective, we'd be ready to, recommend approval. But it has to go through town council and the select board, and we have no way of knowing how they're gonna react. We certainly hope they'll approve it, but we started asking ourselves, what happens if they don't? If they find that the release of liability is not something that they can be comfortable providing? So that's why we thought, well, we'd go back to the original proposal of an alternative donation. The only other way to work this would be to, if it's not approved, then that release of liability language would have to drop out or something. I just don't know what we put in here that addresses the what if it's not approved question.
I think I would maybe ask that if it's not approved by select board and town council, that like we could come back and work something out under administrative approval, something along those lines. I don't want to commit to
All right.
a financial commitment for the
Greg Berman has his hand up, so I'd like to recognize him. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Greg Berman, Director of Natural Resources for the town of Chatham. The town certainly appreciates the applicant's willingness to work with the town and provide these plates. From a reasonable standpoint, this agreement is, very appealing, but we do have to go through our process. One is, since it does have liability language in the agreement, we have to run it past town council. And we just weren't able to do that before this meeting. The second one is that this would still probably be considered a donation for the excess in addition to the dollar. As such, the select board has to approve all donations to the town. So we have to wait for the next select board meeting for them to be able to officially approve it. I'd like to think that this would be relatively straightforward after we hit those thresholds, but can't speak for either of those bodies at this time. From a departmental view, I like to think that we could work out the agreement between town council and whatever council the applicant is using. But however the Conservation Commission would like to phrase it in the order is, obviously up to you guys.
We're working on it right now, some wording. How about something about if it's, the agreement's not executed by September 30th, 2024, then a further period will be provided in order to allow the parties additional time to finalize the agreement. I don't know, maybe we need to put an end date on that as well and say that, something absolutely has to be agreed upon by maybe, I don't know, another month. I hate giving 2 months or a month and almost 2 months.
I'm fine with that. That seems a lot more reasonable.
So we said a period of 30 days will be provided. should we also add that this will be a negotiation between our conservation division
No.
or,
Paul says no.
no? I know, thanks, Paul. Greg's
I'm
got his
sorry.
hand. Go ahead, Greg.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this wouldn't necessarily be a negotiation at this point, certainly not on price.
Right.
This is just
Order.
making sure that our town council either approves of the agreement or has a minor tweak that the applicant can live with. But yeah, it's
Okay,
not
so
a
you're not
negotiation
thinking,
of where it's.
okay, then we won't say anybody in particular, especially not Paul.
Okay.
All right. Now, there were two things I had a question about. In the, I can't find it now. I have to find my comments.
So just to
Okay.
confirm, the additional payment language is coming out and being replaced with the future negotiation language,
We took
correct?
out the 15,000, yes.
Okay.
So,
Flex.
Armor Flex,
Yes.
are you using that?
Nope, I think that's a carryover language from the previous orders of conditions with the neighbors. So,
Yeah, but
that-
you never commented on it in your review, so I was
yep,
thinking that.
so I have alternative language for it to fill it in,
Okay.
to fill in the correct language there.
Okay.
So, in the sentence there where it says, will be protected and stabilized with A, so, after A, put single layer of armor stone,
Let me do it.
sand nourishment, and native plantings to maintain protection and
Arborstone?
maximize habitat.
Oh, wait, slow it down.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Single layer of what?
Of armor stone?
ARBORSTONE?
Yeah.
Armor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, armor.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
And
Sand nourishment. And native plantings. To maintain protection while maximizing habitat.
okay, that's a big mishmash.
we have to get rid of the erosion control
Yep.
system and native plantings.
Yeah, that's coming out. Fix that.
Okay, but you are using Armor Stone, AMORSTONE for
Yes.
okay, just wanted to make sure that I questioned everything. Those were the only question I had, besides going over that new condition.
Okay.
Anything else from any commissioners? Elise, anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Janet, are you?
I am good with it.
Okay. Well, it looks like in
I have
record.
one more, sorry.
Well, okay, what's your other thought?
For condition 6, page 11H, I'd like a duration to be added to that of 3 years to match condition 14, special condition 14. So that's the annual surveys and the annual monitoring reports.
Yeah, I hadn't changed that to 3 years because this is for the life of the order, which is 3 years. So,
Okay.
that's why I hadn't put that in, but that's fine. We've added the 3 years to condition 6.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think that is it for us. I think we just have a general request, I think, and this is just to avoid any potential issues. We would ask that Catherine Ricks recuse herself from commenting on any jobs that she previously worked on
Right.
when she was a private consultant, and just to avoid risk of potential conflict of interest
Right.
and how that could affect any future litigation
Absolutely.
or anything like that.
Yep, absolutely.
I have just one thing to ask. After the armor plates are removed, how is the road evaluated?
They're not.
I don't think the armor plates are going to be removed. First of all, we have 3 more properties on Tulipy Run that are going to need those in place. So I think these may be almost a forever thing.
Oh, okay.
Because Greg can chime in. So go ahead, Greg.
Thank you. So the town does have a grant application in place to examine the tide gate. You know, pending on the results of that grant, you know, the rebuilding of that tide gate, potentially into a culvert or some new system, it's still going to be, you know, multiple years away. But once we redo that for restoration and coastal resilience, at that point, we wouldn't need the plates there anymore, but it's still going to be at least, you know, 2+ years.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right, I guess we're ready for a motion.
All right. All right, I move that we close the hearing and approve the order of conditions as it's been amended here for 97 Tulipy Run.
Second.
Janet?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
And I say aye. All right. Got your order.
Thank you. And when can we pick it up?
Is Crystal
Approximate
still
time.
on? No.
Dan, through the
That's
chair, if I could.
Sure.
I spoke to Crystal about an hour ago, and she will have the order ready tomorrow. I thought picking it up in hand would be the fastest way for you to get it.
Yep.
Just call ahead to make sure she's done and it's ready, and there's someone at the counter to deliver it and hand it off to you.
Okay, we will do
Okay.
that tomorrow then. Awesome. Thank you very much,
You're
everybody.
welcome. Yep.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Paul,
Yes.
we're ready for the next.
All right, okay. Now we're gonna move over to determinations of applicability. The first one on the agenda is 65 Squanto Drive. Judith and Scott Stewart, map 10C, parcel E16, R-24-24, pruning of 6 oak trees to improve airflow, balance to better withstand severe weather, and removal of invasive plants, strangling trees is what the agenda says. The applicant has requested a continuance to September 11th for this one.
Perfect, then we're ready for a motion.
Okay, I move that we continue 65 Squanto Drive to the hearing on September the 11th.
Second.
Was your thing on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, Janet,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
and I say aye. Okay, we're ready for the next.
Okay, next on the agenda, Madam Chair, is a submitted notice of intent application. The address is 60 Robbins Way, Yuji Sakamoto, you know who I am with names, map 10K, parcel 12-19, DEP number 103697. The project is proposed driveway reconfiguration and installation of a septic system with an IA component, including plantings.
Okay, thank you. Hi,
And
Thad.
Thad's on the line.
Okay,
For the
we've
record,
got Thad, and
Thad
I think,
Aldridge with Shannon Goheen. So we're back here. I spoke with Paul yesterday afternoon about the minor missing items in our application. I have a letter that's been submitted digitally, and I have 8 copies here that I can either hand in here or upstairs. And that's for a more robust alternatives analysis for the planting that will occur within 50 feet of the coastal bank. It did seem to make sense for that planting to go from lawn to native landscaping to be
Okay.
a far superior option. And then Shannon had a few revisions to her plan to review.
Would you, I have some handouts, would you like them?
we can take them. We don't have a quorum sitting in the room, though.
Can
So we have one
Send them all in
person.
upstairs, and then,
So not now.
unless you'd like to see them now.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
We can do whatever. I can always take them up.
Just have
Yeah, it's just that we don't have everybody, so they're not able to see it.
Right.
There you go, Janet. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Brad.
Okay, go ahead, whatever you all want to
Well, the-
discuss.
Big changes that were made with the landscape plan, better highlighting the 50 and 100-foot zones, and then also providing a list of the percentage natives and which zone each one is in, be it the no disturb zone or 50 to 100.
Right, okay, so when you say 84% native, is that the number of plants, or is it the,
It's square footage.
it is square footage, okay? Just so we know. So all the rest of the hydrangeas that you have listed, and there were quite a few, those are not anywhere in our, there's only 2 listed that are non-native. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 listed, and I know smooth are native. So, are the rest that aren't listed, they're not in our jurisdiction?
Yeah, in the 50 to 100 foot south, as you
Right.
see, the way I labeled my list, I took all of the hydrangeas out, so there wouldn't be any question. All of the hydrangeas and the existing arborvitae are removed, and they make up the 16% non-native.
Okay, so,
And the others, yes, to answer your question, are out of your jurisdiction.
okay, that's the part, because I only see a list of 4 or 3 hydrangeas, and there are 6 that were on your plan, and so I just wanted to make sure where those other 3 versions were going. Okay. Because it's kind of hard on these plans, with everything that goes on in this property, it's a little bit difficult to figure out what's where. So, thank you for that. So we have the alternatives analysis, and I assume this is the request for the variance as well?
There was a request for a variance in the,
Okay,
in the
I couldn't find
application.
it. I don't know why.
We usually put it right up at the top, just how this has a,
Yeah, I looked and looked yesterday. We'll look again.
okay.
And then the work protocol, we didn't have that. We couldn't find that.
Okay.
Alternatives analysis too.
Yeah, he just handed it to us.
All right.
So it'll get up to you all too. Anybody else have questions, comments, anything?
I got a quick comment.
Sure.
There's a lot of different plants, a lot of plantings here, and who's going to maintain all of this going forward?
We'll figure that out.
It's a lot of variations, and
Well, it's primarily, there's a down in the far south, it's essentially a wildflower garden. They don't require a lot of maintenance. Usually they get mowed, that's about the extent of it. The other ones, as you're coming around here, as you're moving your way north, are again, they're native. And potentilla is something you almost never prune unless it dies, grass, cut it down once. So it's basically weeding that would happen in any garden. And then in the area out of your jurisdiction and the few hydrangeas that are near the door, you know, they're low ones. So there's hardly any maintenance there. So I don't see it as being any more difficult than anything else. You got weeds, you got mowing,
Yeah.
water.
Did we request demarcation of any of these areas?
My next thing is waiting for you to request it. I didn't want to take all your thunder.
For protection of these areas, planted areas, what is going to be surrounding these areas? So they don't get mowed over, you know, by landscapers maybe, or, so the homeowner and, future owners realize that these areas, these plantings need to be protected because, you know, they're mitigation for the work that's being done.
What do people do?
A metal strip usually, and I mean, it's really that section to the north that needs to be
north.
demarcated. That's
Yeah.
the real mitigation that we're
Yeah.
looking at.
Well, but even around where you've got the native planting with geranium, you know, all that, there's lawn right there. So probably you want to, it's almost all up against lawn. And our concern, you know, so I would think more than just the one area needs to be demarcated.
So would
I
you agree?
Well, I mean, it's the foundation planting, aren't you just gonna edge it? Like, is it gonna be an edge bed? Is this, I mean, it's basically, it's just foundation planting.
Right,
Yeah,
Is it gonna be an edge bed? You're gonna have an edge to it?
exactly.
Well,
generally, yes.
that's
You know.
my assumption.
Yeah,
Oh,
you kick
okay.
in an edge, right? You're gonna
We don't
have-
want it to blend into the grass, like, you know,
Right.
with a messy edge.
Right. I mean, you know, this mitigation is basically, it's a foundation planting. So imagine you're gonna have a kicked edge, probably a kicked edge on the, next to the driveway, right? And
But
that,
it's really that planting to the north is what needs to be protected. That's what we're really looking at is the mitigation.
The
If
Joe
that's-
Pine, the swamp milkweed across the top of the drawing.
It does say something about a 4-foot mow strip on one side of it. I don't know if that's sufficient or we needed,
Yeah, that's between the woods and
yeah.
the planting.
Yeah,
4
'cause you see
foot's
the
pretty big.
woods are
Yeah,
pretty
that,
wild.
that side, you've got something, I
But,
don't know.
yeah,
I think
could-
you need
yeah.
to add it to the other side, something.
Could you put a metal edging all the way around?
Yeah,
Sure.
Okay.
that way it doesn't get mowed. Anything else, Bob?
No, thank you.
Eric?
no.
Janet?
I am good.
All right, we have somebody with their hand up, and I can't, sorry, I can't read who it is. So it's,
My name,
no, BB.
Bob Boynton.
Oh,
good afternoon. My name is Bob Boynton. I'm the owner of the property adjacent to the applicant's property.
right,
But I've got a little bit more skin in this game than the average abutter because if you look on the drawing that Ms. Goheen has submitted, part of the driveway is on my property. There's a small portion of it next to Robbins Way that's shared in the sense that both Eugene and I have to drive over each other's property briefly in order to get into our respective driveways. So given that, and it's been that way for years, I just want to make the commission aware of this and ask that they not approve anything that would impede that access to my property. Now, my lawyer has determined that the situation meets the requirements for what's called a prescriptive easement.
right.
And therefore, he said that the easement is valid. And I realized from the last hearing, ma'am, that you're not in the easement business, and I'm not asking you to get into it.
No,
I just want to make you aware that this one exists, we're using it, and it's necessary for us at present to continue using it to get onto our properties. I've submitted a letter and a plan, which is on
Right.
file since 2002.
Yes, we
Just to let
received
you know where
those.
the location is. Okay? I'm not even worried that there's a problem here because I've met with Shannon Goheen several times down at the property. She's very familiar with the whole layout. She's familiar with the areas that we are sharing, and I don't think her design, which is a pretty good design, is going to in any way impact the easement. But I just want the commission to be aware of it so that they don't inadvertently approve anything that might block access.
And didn't you just say that the plan that's been presented does not block your access? Am I correct?
Her drawing, right, what she has in her drawing doesn't block access, but I just want to
Okay.
put the
Well,
formal
that would-
documentation, not rely on an assumption.
Well, that would be the plan of record that will be used. But Paul, if you'd like to.
Yes, two things. I just want to toggle back to the variance request and ask that it has to be submitted separately as a separate document, and then I know you'll follow all the procedures within it, but just checking off or saying in a cover letter, I'm applying for a variance is not sufficient. As to the prescriptive easement, doesn't matter what a lawyer says, you need a court order. You have to meet 5 elements. They have to be proven in a court of law, and you have to get a decree from a court before you have a prescriptive easement. Plus, as we've said many times, we don't deal with private property rights.
Right.
I understand that, and Mr. Eldridge has put on the plan that he submitted, proposed driveway easement, which I appreciate, and Yuji and I are working on making that proposed easement into an exact one. But again, I don't want access to my property blocked, so that's why I'm giving you the information. I'll continue to work with the lawyer and with Yuji to formalize this. In actuality, the easement that we're proposing is going to modify the existing one to make it much more applicable to the area of concern. So again, I just don't want access to my property blocked.
All right. And I just want to be clear, make sure I'm clear. At this time, the plans that are before us do not threaten your easement or your ability to get into your property, correct?
That is correct.
Great. That's all I needed to hear. Thank you.
Okay.
And Paul, do you still have something or?
No.
Okay, just
no,
wanted to make sure.
That's fine. Again, it's not sufficient to claim a prescriptive easement.
Correct.
You have to prove it in court. That's all.
Right. Well then.
Understand.
Anybody,
Okay.
Elise, anybody have any other questions, problems? Anything with?
I do not have anything specific at this point. It's
Great.
all been covered.
Okay. Anybody here?
I have nothing.
Then I think we can send this to an order.
The 11th or the 25th?
Yeah, the 11th or 25th, what,
Is the 11th?
The
11th works.
okay.
Okay, I move that we continue 60 Robbins Way for an order of conditions on September the 11th.
Second.
Okay, Janet,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
and I say aye. So we will have an order for you next week.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Great day.
All right, Paul, next one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is a notice of intent for 0 Crosswind Farm, Joseph and Jeremiah and Hannah Rick, map 10J, parcel 7A, LP 36, DEP number SE 10 3688. This is a proposed single-family dwelling.
Okay.
I know I screwed the name up. Anyway.
Okay, great. We do
Sorry.
have your representative, so go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the record, my name is Hannah Raditz, wetland scientist with BSC. The revised plans were submitted, which included a few updates. I can share my screen if that would be helpful. The updates included only a few revisions, including indicating which trees will be removed with a red cross them, and the stone markers to be placed at the edge of both mitigation and restoration areas, as well as a planting table with planting area detail to show where these plants will roughly be placed.
Thank you for all of that. And I do see that you have applied to ZBA and you're being heard on October 24th, correct?
That's my understanding. I believe the applicants are also in the audience.
They are.
And can speak to that then.
Okay. They're nodding yes. I don't think they need to come right up and speak if they don't need to. Okay, so why don't you go over the changes that you made and then we'll proceed from there. We do have the plan up on the screen. I think you did that.
Yep, I can see that. That's perfect. Thank you. So as I mentioned, the red X marks are showing the trees that are within conservation's jurisdiction that will be removed. As we discussed last time, this includes, I believe, 10 trees. And much of these are within ACEC. There's only a few on the other edge of the house that are just within the outer edge of the 100-foot buffer to coastal bank. We've also got these pink little circles to show where stones will be placed along the edge of the mitigation and restoration areas to keep those areas separate so that it's understood that the management of those areas will be separate from any other lawn areas.
Great. I appreciate that.
And finally, just a bit above the plan, we've got the planting area detail right there. So that indicates roughly where these plants will be located within this planting area. We've sort of spread them out so that there's a diversity amongst the height of the species, and all of the lower species are shade tolerant to an extent, so they should be able to thrive even when the canopy becomes more mature in this area, though that will take some time for sure.
Okay.
And I believe that's all the changes.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Anything else? Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions, comments? No? Elise, do you, while everybody looks?
Yes, I'm looking too.
Okay.
The number of trees, 10 trees are going out and they're being replaced by
11.
Is it 11?
11 trees.
Okay. Is that the right ratio, Karen?
You know, I don't think it does state where the trees coming out, whether they're in the NDZ or the outer aura.
Okay.
So
We've got 3 within the outer aura, and there's a 1-to-1 for those. And then the remainder of the trees, we also went with a 1-to-1 replacement because, as we discussed in the initial meeting, there was no additional multiplier for replacing trees within ACEC.
Thank you, Hannah.
Okay, so I think we're probably okay with that.
Yep.
Anything else, Elise?
Are the boulders accurate to the volume, the number of boulders that you're going to put in? I count 12. So is that the representation of the spacing of the boulders?
I think it's a general suggestion of the line. The applicant is willing to add more or add some change of fencing. Within this, we have mixed mitigation area, which obviously no tampering will occur, as well as the restoration area, which has the dots, and that is an area that we're proposing to mow at least once per year. So if there's a request to change up this designation, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
About how far apart are they? Maybe 8 feet?
It definitely changes. I think this had more to do with sort of following the general curbs of these
Right.
areas. So marking them where there would be useful for someone with a lawnmower or someone going out to do work.
Yeah.
I have a question. The applicant is the one doing the mowing, right? The applicant himself?
Most likely.
Yeah, so I doubt he'll be
Yeah,
mowing his own
over what
plants
he
down.
just planted.
To me, the bottom line is this house is adjacent to, Route 28. I know it's within the floodplain, but I think I think the applicant, and you've done a good job, and it's pretty tight the way it is. You've asked everything we wanted you to do, and
Okay.
that's all you can do.
Janet, anything?
Nope, I am good.
Okay, and Elisa, sorry, did you have anything else?
No, I was done. Thanks, Karen.
Okay. I know we have an abutter here. You're welcome to come up.
Hello, for the record, I'm Carolyn Whittle, a butter at 1013 Orleans Road. I'll be quick, I have just 2 things. The commission is well aware that I'm concerned about the cutting down of trees at 0 Crossman Farm Road, but I'm equally concerned about the landscape mitigation plan, which crams 11 large trees, not just medium trees or bushes, into a small area. That area will adversely, and planting there will adversely impact my views. The power and communication lines that run from the state highway up the hill to my home, and especially the safety of anyone using my shared driveway. So I'd appreciate the commission considering an alternative planting plan, maybe keeping some of those trees in the already forested area or on the western side of the lot, rather than trying to move all of them into that area along the state highway and my property line. The only other comment I have is that I just want to make sure that I fulfill the commission's request at the last meeting we attended regarding the archaeological and historical sensitive area, and if you were looking for anything else from me.
Actually, I mean, you've discussed it, we have given opportunity. That is not something that's within our jurisdiction. We cannot prevent anything from happening just because it's believed to be a burial ground. I appreciate the concern. I appreciate the historical significance if there's something there, but that's not something that our commission deals with. And I don't know what department does, but we've given, we've tried to help you get that going, but that can't be something that prevents us from going to an order.
Right, but you're not looking for me to supply anything else to you?
No.
I've done my part, okay,
No.
thank you.
And I think there have been several people who have contacted the state about it.
I think so
So
too.
I don't know if anybody's heard anything, but last I heard, they hadn't.
Okay.
So as far as that's concerned, I'm sorry, but that can't be something that causes us to hold off on this or not act on it.
Right. I am concerned about all the trees in a small area.
Right. So
Right.
I get views being impacted, and I understand that. That's not something that we can deny because of somebody's view is impacted. We usually ask that, homeowners work together to come to a satisfactory agreement. When you said and I believe you've gone into a bit more detail, but the safety issue of people using your driveway?
So two issues, the visibility at the bottom of the driveway pulling out, not being able to see Crossman Farm or the curve there. And then also the sun comes up on Riders Cove and that early morning sun does the best early melt on black ice and snow and ice on the deepest part of the curve,
Okay.
the hairpin curve there. The proposed plan, the trees I'm seeing go to 35 feet and then 60 feet high. And they have root bases that go from 25 feet to 250 feet. So I don't know how my communication and power cables won't be impacted. I only have in some areas a 5-foot strip between the asphalt of the driveway and the property line. There's very little room for anyone to get in there and do any repair or any work.
Okay. Would you like to speak to that? Does she have her hand up?
Yep.
Yep, there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So when it comes to the placement of the trees, the 2 cedars that are proposed along that lower southern corner will be roughly in the same place as that existing cedar, which is mature height. These saplings that will be placed in definitely have the ability to get up to 35 feet tall, but that is the maximum height you would expect. And it's not necessarily the case for any tree. These trees could be stunted by a number of conditions from wind or the soil. So it's not a guarantee that these trees would be that tall, though that existing juniper that is proposed to be removed in that southern corner by the proposed dwelling and also by the driveway is about mature height. So the 2 that would be placed there would not be significantly increasing coverage of that area. They also have a more narrow canopy, which is more beneficial than placing something like a red oak, which would be providing more coverage, more reaching out branches towards that property. There's a far lower risk with these cedars of coming into contact with the wires, especially because there's a few feet buffer between the edge of the pavement and the edge of our area that we show as restoration, which is cut back a bit from that roadway. So the placement of these trees within the area is strategic for keeping, wayward branches and falling trees away from the wires. Though again, these saplings will be quite small, and it'll take them quite a few years to get up anywhere near that mature size, perhaps even decades. With the red oaks, which could also be black oaks, we place them sort of in the center. And those, again, they will be very small for quite a long time. They are very slow growing trees. And even though this does seem a bit packed in, this does mirror a typical forest in which there's saplings growing often right on top of each other, especially on this property. You can see how close those cedars are. They're far closer than we're even proposing in this plan. So there will be plenty of time for those roots to establish in a way that's harmonious and should not impact the long-term health of this plot. And I don't see safety concerns with the placement, especially with the cedars being closest to the road.
So if I'm reading your map correctly and the measurements, some of those trees are only 5 feet from my property line. Is that correct?
That might be a bit close.
And it may just be the drawing, but that's my concern, is that when I follow the map and try to stick to the facts, some of those are only 5 to 7 feet from the property line.
It's a general estimate on where those would be, because we just wanted to sort of map out where these plants could be found in the future so that they can be monitored. But they will be within a few feet of the property line.
So what's a few feet?
As you mentioned, 5 feet could be an accurate estimate, or those could also be shifted closer to the dwelling within that area, but still maintaining that general spot. It's more of a general map.
Is there a way to ensure they're 10 feet or more, or 15 or more?
What is this?
I think that would be pushing sort of the limits of that area.
Could I offer a solution, which is that as far as the placement of these trees, that the homeowners and you work together.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think that, I don't agree with that. I mean, yeah, that could be a problem. Obviously,
Yep.
there's, from what I can hear, there's a problem here. I mean, number one is their property.
Yeah,
Number two is, I have to say, from your house on a clear day, I can see forever, as far as view goes.
yeah, you're up high.
But, I mean,
We-
I personally don't see a problem.
I will
planting.
say, we cannot deny something based off of your view maybe changing. They, usually homeowners would work together. Yeah.
I'm actually more concerned about the communication and power lines and the driveway. And I want trees. You might remember I started this with don't cut down the trees, get out of the forest. So I want the trees. I just don't want future problems. And I plan on living decades, so I know these trees won't reach maturity for decades, but I am looking towards the future.
Right. And you never know, they could be knocked out in a storm. So, I think at this point, and I'll ask the ones that are here and Elise, is there anything in this at this time that anyone considers would prevent us from going to an order? Janet?
I think from a conservation perspective, we've done everything. The mitigation is
Everything
acceptable. To the extent that there are issues between abutters, in terms of views or power lines or any of that stuff, that would be more appropriately addressed at a zoning hearing. They are open to that kind of thing because they look at how what is proposed fits into the overall neighborhood because they want alignment. It's just out of our purview because we're strictly conservation. So I would say we are ready
Yeah.
to close this and send it over to ZBA and let them have.
I think as far as from our perspective, they have met and listened and met what we've asked.
Yes.
So, and they still do need to be heard by ZBA. So that's really the appropriate place.
Right.
Does anyone else feel differently? Elise?
I do not feel differently. I have a sensitivity to both homeowners, and I think the ZBA involvement will clarify quite a bit of these issues, and I put it in their great hands. We overlap and we are very simpatico in our work. So I do not have concerns with where
Okay.
we are at from our perspective.
Great. Bob, how do you feel?
I'm sympathetic to both
Yes.
the owners of the property and the abutter. And I think they should get together and come up with a plan, and before these trees are planted. That's my feeling on it. I don't know if these trees could be moved on the plan. I don't think I think it's a simple thing. And I wouldn't want to have a tree right on my property line as well. That's my feeling. And 5 feet away or 3 feet away from a property line is pretty close. Thank you.
All right. But I think we can go to an order. Obviously, an order would not be issued until after you've met with ZBA, and that is October 24th.
So the next one after that is the 6th of November.
Is it the 6th? That's, I was just looking for my calendar. So it would be November 6th, if that is agreeable. And if ZBA changes anything, then at that time, we revisit, is how we do things. So I think we're ready for a motion.
All right. I move that we continue 0 Crosswind Farm Road for an order of conditions on November the 6th.
Second?
Janet?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
And I say aye. So thank you very much for your input, and thank you to everyone, and hopefully we will be able to issue an order at that time.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, Paul.
Thank you, Madam
Onward.
Chair. Now we're going to move on to certificates of compliance. First on the agenda is 159 Sea Pine Road. Michael and Elizabeth Baldwin are the applicants. Map 11K, parcel HC13, DEP number SE103459. The project was stone revetment replacement. I believe Bob Perry might be online to answer any questions, but I've been over to the property several times. I think it came out very well. The order was issued in 2021 for reconstruction of a revetment. There was a joint project next door at 187 Sea Pine. That's going to come in later for a COC. They removed the toe stones and the armor stones. They used most of them to replace and rebuild the wall. So it was a temporary removal. The top of the bank is now very stable. We have pictures online on MyTownGov of the vegetation. Bob submitted photographs of the wall, the vegetation, which is, it just looks really good. Nourishment was done. It's done on an annual basis, and it was done this year. The only deviation was that the applicant didn't submit, I believe, annual monitoring reports. Having said that, if you've looked at the project, I know you guys go out and look at them, the monitoring reports, I think with the submission of the material that he showed, the photographs, and just looking at the property, we can sort of maybe just rely on that it came out the way that it was supposed to, was in substantial compliance. There was an as-built requirement, but it was an either-or. A written statement from the engineer that the project is in compliance, or an as-built, and that was to be decided by the agent. Bob and I talked about that. Given the fact that I was very familiar with it and it came out as good as it did, I didn't see the need for requiring an as-built. Bob also certified the dimensions were exactly the same. So that's it. I would, if Bob has any comments or you have any questions, I would recommend a full C on this, unless the commissioners disagree.
No, I went out, and boy, I think it looked terrific. The grass, it looks like it's done well, and I don't have a problem with it. Any other comments? All right.
Madam Chairman?
Yes?
Just Bob Perry chiming in.
Oh, hi, Bob. I didn't see that you were on.
Yeah, I just, thank you for the review. I'm just recalling that our letter may have wished to have an ongoing condition for sand nourishment that had been undertaken since the revetment was replaced. So there had been constant engagement. And I know there's a very good beach there today. But if you're interested in an ongoing condition for sediment, I know we put it in our
You did.
So
Yep.
that's something to put in there.
So I did see that.
Yeah, I failed to mention, he's got a list of ongoing conditions, so should be all set on the nourishment, Bob.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then we're ready for a motion.
All right, I move that we approve the request for a certificate of compliance for 24 and 2 Salt Pond Road.
Second.
Okay, Janet?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
And I say aye, so that's approved. Okay, Paul, next one.
Well, through the chair, if it's okay, Catherine worked on 104 Cranberry Lane. There were two. She's spoken with David Little, and they've requested a continuance. If Catherine could just indicate what was missing and what's needed in order to vote on this application. You there, Catherine?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Catherine Ricks, I'm going to give this a go. So these are a certificate of compliance requests for 104 Cranberry Lane, Elizabeth Ann Donnelly, map 15J, parcel W6, DEP SE number 103292, for an addition and convert the garage into a living space, driveway, and associated site work. Additionally, another one with SE 103414, construction of hardscape, retaining walls, etc. And we did receive a certified plot plan after, but there were some missing items on that plot plan, which included a patio and some mitigation area definitions and a wash area. So we requested that from the applicant, and they requested a continuance to the next meeting to provide us that information.
Great, so we are continuing to September 11th, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Okay, Catherine, did you read both, or are we just gonna vote on them
she read
separate?
both.
Okay, you did read both, okay.
Yeah.
All right, then, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the request for a continuance for both matters involving 104 Cranberry Lane to September the 11th.
Second.
Okay, Janet?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, Paul?
Okay, thank you. Next on the list is the last certificate of compliance. 70 Judges Way, Everett and Joyce using
You got it.
map 11B parcel 1B-R6, DEP number SE 103440. The project was shorefront protection. This was the one that we had on the agenda previously. Eric had some issues with the stakes that were left in. I got an email this morning. I put up some photographs from Time and Bond on this that were recently taken. I just got them this morning, so you probably didn't have a chance to see those, but they're up there. I've been back out. I don't know if it satisfies what Eric was looking for. I mean, the jute netting is there. It's pretty stable. Some of the beach grass is, I suppose you can look at it two ways, that it's stable or you need to do more beach grass. And I'm not sure, Eric, if you had an issue with the temporary irrigation or not. I may be mixing that up. But having said that, I think it's up to you guys to sort of decide now if you think it should be approved or we need to do further review of this and work with the applicant a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I went there, looked again. There was nothing, the beach grass and the vegetation was fine. It was just that they left marcation stakes all over the place. They didn't clean up after themselves, in other words. I don't think there was any irrigation issues. They did forget one stake. I picked it up for them. But other than that, it's fine.
Okay, great. Well, then I recommend we approve the COC for 70 Judges Way.
Okay.
All right.
Motion?
Then I move that we approve the certificate of compliance for 70 Judges Way.
Second.
Janet?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, that's approved. Okay, Paul?
Next on the agenda, any, minutes to be approved for June 12th, 2024 and June 26th, 2024.
Okay. Any modifications, comments, anything on the 2 minutes that we have?
I made mine on the version in Teams folder, so they're showing up. They're very minor.
Yeah, I looked and they're fine. Bob, anything?
June 12th, for 93 Scattery Road. The third sentence down, the existing chain link fence has been removed, not have been removed.
Aha. Okay.
And then George Ryder Road, Airport, the seventh sentence down, it just said Bob without a reference to the last name, so it wasn't me. I think it
Okay,
was
so
Bob
we
Rawls.
should add Bob Rawls.
Where is that?
Right here, right in the middle of, whoops, where is it? It's right, Bob raised.
There it is, Bob Walls, okay. Yeah.
Anything else?
That's it, thank you.
Okay.
More formal for Commissioner Rawls.
Yeah. Anything for June 26th? Okay, then I think we can take them together. Well, wait a minute, who was in attendance? I think we're okay.
All right, so.
I think we're okay, because.
So on the 12th.
We had everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I
And the
think the
26th?
26th, we had everybody. At least
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
who's here.
no, everybody, yeah, we had a full group on
Yeah.
both days. That's 'cause
I
we were
thought I
doing the
noted
airport
that.
and we made everybody show.
Yes. Okay.
All right, then I'm going to make a motion that we approve the minutes as amended for June 12th and June 26th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, Janet,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
and I say aye. Okay, Paul.
Okay, now on the agenda, we have any unforeseen items brought before the commission. There are two items. The first is 30 Sears Point Road. The application was continued at the last hearing to the 25th.
To the 25th.
Yeah, 25th, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The issue here is that the applicant has indicated that they are not going to remove in kind the stairs that are located on the coastal bank. That would trigger, if they did rebuild them in kind, that would trigger the need for a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals that would extend it out further. They want to treat the knotweed as soon as they can. So they've offered to remove that part of the application and send a revised narrative and a revised plan. They're not going to do anything with the stairs. If they do it at all, they'll do it later and file an amendment. And then they'll have to get a ZBA approval for that. Having said that, they would like to have the hearing voted to be continued to 9/11, which will give them a little bit more time to work on that noxious knotweed that is all over the place out there. That's really what their concern is, to get at that as soon as they can. So if the commission is agreeable, we could take a vote to move the hearing to 9/11.
Okay. Janet?
I'm going to move that we rescind the continuance to September 25th and continue 30 Sears Point Lane to the hearing on September the 11th.
Second.
Okay, Janet,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
and I say aye. So that's done. And what else,
Okay.
Paul?
Yes, one I forgot to mention, Madam Chair, the other day. I'm not sure if we did this already, but Jordan Valenzo at the Cape Cod Commission
yes.
asked if we would withdraw the discretionary referral now that they've completed their entire review and held their hearings and made their decision. She asked that we vote to rescind the discretionary referral formally.
Okay.
Without their ever having made a decision about it.
No, they have. They've completed it. They decided to deal with it through the modification process. And she sent me an email asking, since they've completed their process, that they would like us to withdraw.
Okay.
Okay.
Somehow it feels like they got off the hook.
I don't know, Janet, do you have some information on? I mean, I could.
No, I don't.
All right.
What we were trying to accomplish with that was get them to conduct the hearings and a full review,
Yeah.
which is what happened. So it doesn't really matter
That's
that they
correct.
didn't do it in response to our referral. That's all.
Yeah.
Then I will move that we withdraw the referral of the Chatham Airport discretionary referral to the Cape Cod Commission.
Second.
Okay, Janet,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
and I say aye. Okay,
And that's all
Paul.
that's all we have, I think. I don't have anything else unless the commission does on unforeseen items.
Does anybody have anything they need discussed? No? Great. Okay, motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Janet, Eric,
Aye.
Elise,
I don't, I.
And I say aye, and Bob?
Aye.
It's after dinner time there, Lise.
Yeah, okay, we're all
Yes,
set.
indeed.
All right, go have a nice dinner.
Bye.
You earned it. Thank you for doing.
Take care.